And the takeaway here is, for disbelievers, they will know eventually. They won't even know when they're lost. Allah will know how lost they are. And actually, the believers are being taught judging people is none of our business. It's Allah's business. I don't know who's lost and who's not lost. Khalid ibn Walid is on the kafir camp right now. And Allah knows that he will be from the muhtadeen. Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Amma ba'd, fa'a'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan ar-rajim. Inna rabbaka huwa a'lamu biman dhalla an sabilihi wa huwa a'lamu bil muhtadeen. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amin ya rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. So we're still on the ayah, your master is the one who knows better, who strayed from his path, and he knows the ones that are committed to guidance. Notice also in this ayah that Allah used the verb for being lost, which suggests that people that are lost now doesn't mean they're always going to be lost. There's hope that they can be found, meaning they can come back to guidance. But Allah has demonstrated His confidence in those who have committed themselves to guidance, that so long as they're committed, Allah will keep them on the path of guidance. May Allah include all of us among them. There's also a really interesting difference between man and al. Man means Allah knows better whoever is lost. Whoever sounds like they're ambiguous, mubham, ibham, like they're nobodies. But it was talking about the elites of Makkah who were the only somebodies in the society, and the Quran is like taking a shot at them and saying, yeah, whoever's lost, who cares? Like they're not important. But the people that are committed to guidance, remember, they were the slaves, they were the youth, they were the poor people. These were the people that were coming to the Prophet ﷺ mostly, and they became al-muhtadeen, the committed ones to guidance. Like they became important. So in a sense, what Allah did is, Allah treated the elites of the disbelievers as if they are nobodies, and He treated the believers as if they are elites in the society where they were actually considered nobodies, by just using that al in this ayah. It's really beautiful. Then, بِمَنْ ضَلَّ أُقِيمَ مَقَامَ بِهِمْ وَالْمُهْتَدِينُ أُقِيمَ مَقَامَ بِكُمْ. In the previous ayah we saw, you shall see and they shall see. Remember that? You shall see and they shall see. We saw that in the 5th ayah. But there's something really interesting that's happened. The word you was singular. The word you was the Prophet. The Prophet shall see and they shall see. And they were in the plural, remember? So you is singular and they are plural. How has Allah flipped that? Allah said, Allah knows better whoever is lost. Is that singular or plural? Whoever's lost. That's singular. So He took them who are in the plural and made them weak by making them singular. Like each one of you is lost on their own lost journey. And then He took the Prophet ﷺ, who was singular in that ayah, and He furthered him with those that are committed to guidance. Meaning the Prophet ﷺ is going to have a strong following. So in this ayah, Allah empowered the believers with al-muhtadeen and disempowered the disbelievers by using man dhalla. It's pretty cool that He did that in these subtle kind of linguistic intricacies. But the takeaway from the ayah is the most important. I actually consider this to be the center of the first large section of the surah. And the takeaway here is, for disbelievers, they will know eventually. They won't even know when they're lost. Allah will know how lost they are. And actually, the believers are being taught judging people is none of our business. It's Allah's business. I don't know who's lost and who's not lost. Khalid ibn Walid is on the kafir camp right now. And Allah knows that he will be from the muhtadeen. Abu Sufyan is on the kafir camp, the disbelieving camp. Allah knows he's going to be from the muhtadeen. The majority of people in Makkah are disbelievers right now, and by the time Makkah is conquered, the majority of them will be believers. They'll be al-muhtadeen. It is only for Allah to know. So even if someone's on the opposing end today, that is not a label that they will carry forever. This is another important disclaimer for especially the younger generation that has been raised on social media therapy, where you label people with certain designations: narcissist, toxic, this, that, the other. You have these labels for people, and these are permanent labels. Your mother's a narcissistic, toxic, something, right? And that she's going to carry that label for life. Or somebody else is, a manipulative, this, that, or the other, and they're going to carry that label for life. Well, even the idea of being misguided, Allah did not make that a label for life. So how are we giving labels for life to people as if they're beyond redemption? You understand? So it's a lot of this kind of, pop therapy is very anti-Quranic. Is very judgmental. And it's ironically, it's people that say, I don't, I hate people who are judgmental. That's how they start their video. And especially hate narcissists. These narcissists, like, okay, the irony of it all. So it's inna rabbaka huwa a'lamu biman dalla an sabilihi wa huwa a'lamu bil muhtadin. And in that way, even the Prophet is being told, doesn't matter if some people are calling you insane, you shouldn't be disheartened. You don't know who your words penetrated. You don't know who actually started taking in those words, and you don't know when that's going to blossom. So just keep going. Right? So in that way, the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is also being given a kind of consolation. إِنَّهُمْ رَمَوْكَ بِالْجُنُونِ. They accused you of insanity. وَوَصَفُوا أَنفُسَهُم بِالْعَقْلِ. And by doing so, they attributed intelligence to themselves. وَلَكِنَّهُمْ مَوْصُوفُونَ بِالضَّلَالِ. But now they're being described with being lost as if lost in the desert, which is a kind of insanity. وَأَنْتَ مَوْصُوفٌ بِالْهِدَايَةِ. And you're being characterized by being on a path towards the destination. So people walking on the path, people driving on the highway, on the road, sanity. Somebody driving around in circles in the field on the side, insanity, right? So it's flipping the image. فَلَا تُطِعِ الْمُكَذِّبِينَ. Now we're entering into this final territory for today, and that is from ayah number 8 to ayah number 14 today. We're going to be looking at the character of the hypocrite among the disbelievers. Remember I told you the Abu Jahl profile, the Abu Lahab profile, and the Walid profile? This is the Walid profile in the Quran. The Prophet is being prepared, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that there's going to be some very slick enemies of Islam and your enemies and enemies of God that will come to you, and they will look like they're your friends. They'll come to you not as enemies, they'll come to you as friends. They'll come to you selling themselves as they have your best interest at heart. And you need to know about them what they really are. So the two ayat, number 8 and number 9, are going to expose what they really are. Like, let's just call a spade, right? So that's what Allah is going to do here. What's He saying? فَلَا تُطِعِ الْمُكَذِّبِينَ. Do not follow those that call you and your message a lie. They consider you a liar. They consider your message a lie. Do not follow them. So He's just coming out straight and saying it. And so the first definition of these people is al-mukaththibin. You need to know, even if they like you, they don't like your message. Even if they come with you and say, we're family, I've known you for many years, etc., they hate what you represent. They say, you're not bad, it's just your religion. I like you, I just don't like your religion, right? Fine, you can deal with them, but you won't. I mean, I'm using the translation obey, but it's going to be a lot deeper than that as we get into the word tuti'. فَلَا تُطِعْ. We're going to dig into that word. You'll see there's actually much more going on than meets the eye. But let me read some of this tafsir commentary to you. وَرُوِيَ عَنِ الْكَلْبِ وَزَيْدِ بْنِ أَسْلَمْ وَالْحَسَدْ بِأَلْفَاظٍ مُتَقَارِبَةٍ تَحُومُ حَوْلَ أَنَّ الْمُشْرِكِينَ وَدُّوا أن يمسك النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام عن مجاهرتهم بالتضليل والتحقير فيمسك عن أذاه. So different wordings and narrations have come, which all basically say the same thing. The mushrikeen came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, listen, stop calling us misguided. Stop telling us we're doing shirk. Stop belittling our culture and our way, and we'll stop giving you a hard time. I don't think you're enjoying the insults either. So we need to have a ceasefire on this situation. You stop talking about us, we'll stop talking about you. Is that a deal? This is the negotiation. This is the backdoor negotiation, right? Because now they're clearly coming and saying the Quran is offensive, right? And the fact is the Quran is offensive. The Quran does offend the wrongdoer. The Quran offends the enemy of Allah. The Quran offends the one who pushes the orphan. The Quran offends the one who cheats in business. It offends these people. And by the way, look at the irony. The Prophet is the nicest human being. In fact, so nice that Allah says, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, إِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. He's the best guy, he's the nicest person, the sweetest person, the kindest person. And the Quran is really offensive. Can you imagine the Prophet ﷺ in his life ever just going to somebody and calling them a mukadhib? Right? Or a maftoon? Would the Prophet ever do that? Because that's offensive, isn't it? That's not nice. The Prophet is going to be the best to his fellow creation. But Allah, these are not fellows to Allah. These are Allah's creation. He owns them and He will speak to them like He owns them. And when they're out of line, He has the right to put them in place. And that itself is one of the proofs of prophethood. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ will speak to them, not his own words, Allah's words. And those words, had it not been for Allah, would never come out of the Prophet. It's just not his personality, ﷺ. That's not how he speaks. So there's a clear distinction between how the Prophet is in his character and how the Quran is in its speech. The Quran's actually literally offending these people directly. It's unabashed, unfiltered. And you'll see the insults are just starting. It's going to come after them. This is a problem Christians have, by the way. The Christians believe Jesus is the embodiment of all the most beautiful characteristics. He's mercy, God is love. Because Jesus is Lord, and since Jesus is all love, then God himself is also love. And then they go to the Old Testament, and God is destroying nations, and God is smiting people, and God is angry, and they're like, that's not, where's the love? So they can't reconcile those two things. But the Quran distinguishes between the character of the Prophet ﷺ and the authority of God. And Allah is loving, Allah is merciful, but Allah has also the right to be angry. Allah also has the right to put his servants in their place. And we say, why can't Allah just always be loving? Really? Talk to any parent. If you're only loving to your child, aren't you destroying your child? If a teacher is only kind in the classroom, if a coach is only kind to his athletes that are under his training, oh, you didn't make the cut, you didn't break your previous record, it's okay, we're all winners. Right? Are you gonna, like, your coach will encourage you, will congratulate you, but he's also gonna give you a hard time when you show up late. He's gonna beat discipline into you too, and you're gonna love him for it. We have a comprehensive relationship with Allah, and we don't have a myopic one, where we only need to have a feel-good relationship with Allah, right? That's not what the Quran is offering. The Quran is not offering you this feel-good relationship. This is not a consumer religion where you're going to get something that makes you feel good. No, you're going to get what's best for you. And He knows what's best for you better than you know that yourself, better than I know that myself. So there'll be tough love too in the Quran. There'll be anger too in the Quran. There'll be love also in the Quran. There'll be forgiveness also in the Quran. There'll be warnings and threats also in the Quran. Same Quran. So, فَلَا تُطِعِ الْمُكَذِّبِينَ وَرَدَ فِي كُتُبِ السِّيرَةِ. And what occurs in some of the books of Seerah, أن المشركين تقدموا للنبي عليه الصلاة والسلام بمثل هذا العرض. So some of the mushrikeen came to the Prophet ﷺ with similar offers. وَوَسَّطُوا فِي ذَلِكَ عَمَّهُ أَبَا طَالِبْ وَعُتْبَةَ ibn Rabi'a. And they put before the Prophet, they didn't want to put aggressive people because aggressive people aren't good at negotiating. So they're not going to send Abu Lahab because they don't even like looking at Abu Lahab himself. Why would the Prophet talk to him? So they send Abu Talib. They'll send his uncle that he loves to get to negotiate on their behalf, right? They'll send Utbah because he's a good negotiator. He's political, So this is, and Allah is from the very beginning just letting him know, doesn't matter if there's somebody soft in front of you or tough in front of you, the thing that makes them unqualified for being followed is the fact that they are mukaththibin. Nothing personal, but you're calling my religion a lie. You're calling this revelation a lie. That's why I cannot take anything from you. And your entire offer is for me to compromise this religion. I can't. Understand this difference. The difference between niceness and firm stance. Islam is a firm stance. But the Prophet is the nicest person. You can be the nicest and be firm at the same time. Just because you have a firm stance doesn't mean you have to be mean. Doesn't mean you have to be rigid and tough with people. But your stance can be rigid and tough. I'm convicted of my idea. I have conviction in my ideas. But just because I have hard conviction doesn't make me a hard person to deal with. You get it? So what's happened now is two extremes. Islam is the haqq. So we will speak the haqq this way. Because the haqq should sound like this. Right? So that's because now, because the truth is uncompromising and tough, I need to act and sound tough. Right? That's not the way of the Prophet. And on the other side, Allah loves all of us and we should love everyone. And Omar and Hannah, one of my kids, I watch a lot of Omar and Hannah. But since we love everyone, we love everything, and I mean it's all good, right? So we shouldn't judge anybody. We shouldn't be mean to any. Allah loves everything and everyone. No, wait. Allah doesn't like some things. Allah also detests some things. Allah is also angry at some things. And we cannot just, in the name of being nice, start bending our religion. That's not possible also. And it's like, oh, well, if you're standing by these principles, you're not being kind. No. Kindness has nothing to do with being principled. Kindness has nothing to do with being principled. Now you have, oh no, you're violate, your words are violent. That's what the new thing now. Your stance is violent towards me because you have these principles. No, these principles aren't violent. If you feel violated, then that's your feeling. You need to talk to your God, which is your feelings, and work that out. My stance is my stance. It is what it is. So this is the offer that was made to them. فَقَدْ سَاءَهُمْ مِنْهُ تَحْقِيرُهُم بِصِفَاتِ الذَّمِّ وَتَحْقِيرِ أَصْنَامِهِمْ وَآبَائِهِمْ مِنْ جَانِبِ الْكُفْرِ. So they hated the fact that their religious inconsistencies and their corruption was being called out so explicitly. فَإِنْ أَمْسَكَ عَنْ ذَلِكَ أَمْسَكُوا عَنْ أَذَاهُ. If he could stop doing that, they'll stop. By the way, does he have a choice to stop? Are these the Prophet's words? No. لَيْسَ مِنْ تِلْقَاءِ نَفْسِهِ. They're not, these words are not coming from him. They're coming from Allah. He's a messenger. He doesn't have a choice. He's not saying, okay, fine, the next surah, I'll tone it down a little bit. Like, it's not up to him. And they literally came and said, hey, can you tone it? The next surah, could you just change it a little bit? إِئْتِ بِقُرْآنٍ غَيْرِ هَذَا أَوْ بَدِّلْهُ. Send the Quran. Could you bring another Quran? Like, I mean, this is good, but if you just kind of, I feel like if you just a little bit, considered some of our feelings in the next surah, that would be better. One time I gave khutbah, most of the time I give nice feeling khutbahs. One time I gave khutbah about Judgment Day. Somebody came to me, I feel like you were talking about Judgment Day and it made me feel like so negative about Islam, like, because, Allah loves us too, And I was like, does he? Yeah, oh, okay. Well, let me write that down. I didn't know. You only want to hear what suits your feelings. And you don't want to hear anything else. Right? And you want to let's not even talk about the parts of the Quran that doesn't align with our feelings. Right? The Quran made a lot of people uncomfortable. The Quran's perfectly comfortable with making people uncomfortable. It's not politically correct. It's absolutely not politically correct. وَكَانَ الْحَالُ صُلْحًا بَيْنَهُمْ وَيُتْرَكُ كُلُّ فَرِيقٍ وَمَا عَبَدَهُ. Or one of the ways they can make some kind of negotiation is, how about, okay, fine. You can keep your religion, just leave some parts out and we'll leave some of our parts out and we can work something out with each other. Let's just work on common ground, right? And this was the offer, and Allah calls that mukaddibin. I want you to know something about the word tuti'. I won't spend too much time because we're getting late. But taw' ata'a nabt is when a plant grows and the fruit is easily accessible. You can pick the fruit easily, right? That's ata'a nabt. Ata'a tamr is when you can yumkin an yujtaba. You can the dates can easily be plucked from the tree. Ta'alahu, they use it for a person when a person's really accessible to somebody. Like when they open their doors wide for you, they're very hospitable to you. Ittasa'a lahu, that's taw'un lil-insan. Farasun taw'ul inan, a horse that molds the way you mold. I don't know if you guys have ever done, they have this thing called horse therapy. But you You don't go horse riding, you go walking with a horse. And you're walking, even if you've never even ridden a horse or anything. If you have a horse that's well trained, you're walking with the horse and you slightly turn, and a horse is much bigger than you, but the horse seamlessly turns with you. And you turn that when it's seamlessly, it's in tune with your movements. It's completely, and you pace up and it paces up, and you slow down and it slows down, and you never have to tug at it like you do your child, right? It keeps up with you. And it's a really interesting thing that the horse does, and that's actually called a tawwa of the horse. The way that it inclines towards you, and it becomes in sync with you, and it takes its influence from you. It's deeply influenced by you. It's accepted you as a master in a sense.
Hey guys, you just watched a small clip of me explaining the Quran in depth as part of the Deeper Look series. Studying the Quran in depth can seem like a really intimidating thing that's only meant for scholars. Our job at Bayyinah is to make deeper study of the Quran accessible and easy for all of you. So take us up on that challenge. Join us for this study, the Deeper Look of the Quran, for this surah and many other surahs on bayyinahtv.com under the Deeper Look section.